Hello friends, this is the first of hopefully many of my planning videos. Y'all said you were interested in knowing my whole planning and sketch out process. It's a pretty important part of the woodworking just overall. So I thought I would show you guys how I put together a project plan from kind of the rough idea that pops into my head to like my cut list and shopping and all that. So this is Freyja's toy chest. I'm actually at my wife's desk right now, which I did not ask her if I could use, but mine is really messy and I made her this desk, so hopefully she will not be fussy with me. Freyja's toy chest. So I like to do all my planning on dot grid paper because dot grids are the shiz. I can plan things out and sketch them in a good proportion. So I know that with Freyja's toy chest, first I did some online scouting around. I was like, I've never made a baby toy chest before. What do babies like in toy chests? So I found a couple designs that I thought looked nice and that I had an idea of how I would put together, and I kind of came to a rough idea. I knew the rough proportions I wanted for it. Also from talking to Freyja's mama. And I just kind of didn't know exactly how I would put it together. I didn't know the exacts of everything. I knew I wanted it, man, this is not a good scale drawing, but my original drawings are never particularly good scale drawings. They just are useful for refining an idea, right? It is, rectangular, of course. I wanted to do some kind of chunky legs. I wanted to give the legs a kind of a tapered look, by which I mean have a bit of a point to it, but not like a point, really more like just like a really elegant look, like kind of a mid-century sort of look, I knew I wanted a light, kind of natural looking wood and confirmed that with Mama, and she agrees. And I knew I was gonna have to sand the crap out of it to make all the edges, rounded down and smooth so the baby would be safe. I knew I wanted it a little bit off the floor, and that's about what I had. So after talking to Freyja's mom a little bit more and her telling me a little more about the space it was going into, we decided it would be about 2.5 feet, aka 30 inches long, about 18 inches deep, and about 18 inches tall, including the feet. So obviously that is not a necessarily good proportion. So I'm going to now redraw it more to scale. What I really want to understand is how much is this, right? How tall are the feet before we get to the toy chest? Because right now this looks much too leggy, but I don't want it so squat that you can't reach under there if something rolls under there. So I'm gonna draw it mostly to scale, and then I'll play with basically where this bottom line goes, and then we'll go from there. I did already buy some lumber for this, and it's been resting and acclimating in my house. I've got 2x2s for the strong corner columns. I've got 1x3s for the larger cross pieces. And I've got some 1x2 for just this little piece right here. And then I've got some 1/2 inch ply in a nice hardwood, I believe it's a maple ply, to form the sides. It was important to me that the ply be fairly sturdy. I didn't want to go down to a 1/4 inch because I was worried that if it was wobbly at all, I didn't want Freyja to be able to tip it over as she gets bigger. And I didn't want, her to just be roughhousing and ending up, shoving it a little, or it hits a weird corner and splinters and then she gets a little splinter in her hand or something like that. Though I tell you, when I picked up that 1/2 inch ply, I was like, oh, this is gonna be pretty heavy. So it'll be fun to work with. It'll be good and sturdy and last her a long, long time. I'm using your desk without asking. It's very rude of me. But my desk is really messy and yours is really pretty. Someone who loves you must have made it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that was me. All right, I'm gonna try drawing this to scale. Hopefully in editing I can like speed it up super fast so it looks good. Okay, I'm pretty happy with those proportions. I chose a 3-inch clearance because it seemed like that would be pretty decent for toy retrieval. I did a whole really scientific like, no, 2's not enough, 4's too much, and based my thoughts on toy retrieval on how we often have to retrieve toys from our cats. Now, human children as opposed to cat children have many different sized toys, so that may not be the best thing to estimate based on, but you know, I gotta go with what I know. Hi, baby. Always being cute. Come here. Come jump in my lap for the video. I love you. You're very cute. Oh, look at your belly. Anyway, at this point in the planning process, I'm thinking about a couple of different things. I'm thinking about the sizes of the wood in relation to each other. I'm thinking about how I'm gonna join the various pieces together. For example, these 2x2s that I'm using for the support legs are going to end up being a little skinnier than the 1x3s I'm using as my larger horizontal rails. Is that going to look weird or unproportioned? Maybe, I was thinking it might, but then as soon as I drew in this little kind of reach in cutout thing, it started looking not so much. So actually I'm feeling pretty good about it again. The 2x2 corner is going to be deeper than my 1x3 rails. So where is it gonna stick out? Like if I attach the rails towards the back of my square railing, then it would end up with the leg kind of sticking out weirdly in a kind of like, I don't want that. So I want the rails to be attached flat to the front from the outside, which means that on the inside, there will be a little extra bit in the corner, but that is fine. I still will want to sand that down really well because I don't want baby to bonk herself. I'm sure baby will climb into this as well. So, so when it comes to attaching the horizontal, everything that's not plywood to each other, the horizontal rails to the legs, the small vertical rail to the horizontal rails, I want to use my new dowel system. I got a new doweling jig. If you've put together any kind of flat pack furniture, I'm sure that you've like used a dowel to strengthen a joint. The idea is whenever you're joining, well, when you're joining end to end especially, but even end to like face, the end of a piece of wood doesn't take glue very well because that's the way that the wood fibers are oriented. It'll just kind of suck up the glue and not do as good of an adherence. So I'll do a little doweling to strengthen that connection, give the glue more to stick to, and just generally give it some strength. Since I'll be doweling in at 2 corners, I do want to make sure that my doweling is a little bit offset. I wouldn't want to be drilling in my dowel hole in one corner and then drill it on the opposite corner and end up having them collide inside, like the holes. That would just, I feel like that would be messy. So I'll make sure to offset them a little bit. Dowel. It's going to be very important to keep the corners square on this front face. So when I go, Pippin, baby. So when I go and try to cut the plywood to set sort of flat into it, that I don't end up with any gaps that something could, you know, pinch or get caught by. You are such a ham. And so I don't have to like use a filler that might not look very good or something like that. I want it to be like nice and seamless. And I have decided that I'm going to be attaching the ply to the solid rails with pocket hole screws on the inside of the toy chest. I kind of went back and forth on whether I should do a dado out groove so that I can sit the plywood in it. But the fact is the plywood is 1/2 inch thick, and my 1x2s and 1x3s, well, a 1x is actually only 3/4 of an inch thick. So if I dadoed out a 1/2 inch in the middle of a 3/4 inch, then there's only an 1/8 inch on either side. So like half of that remaining 1/4 inch to kind of hold it in place. And that's just not very much. I just don't trust it. I'm worried that while I'm trying to cut it, it might, splinter or shake or something like that. So I'm going to use pocket hole screws. They are a little uglier, but since they're only going to be on the inside, it won't show as much. And I do have some pocket hole fills that are in a similar color family, so I should be able to get them in there and all plugged up, and once they're sanded beautifully, you'll still see like the circle of it, but hopefully I can get it looking nice and smooth and pretty. When it comes to the bottom, I think I'm going to have some horizontal slats, or not horizontal, some depth-wise slats, maybe 3 of them, and then I'll lay a piece of, and I'll anchor those either through dowels or pocket hole screws. I'm not sure. And then I'll lay a piece of plywood on top of that and set it in there. And then I will drill from the bottom so that I have a screw that goes through these supports and into the plywood, but not through the other side. So I'll very carefully be looking at that thickness and making sure it's all nice. So that way it'll be a smooth bottom. You won't see any bumps or screw heads or anything like that when you're looking down inside. So at this point, I also want to be thinking about my cut list, about how long all of these pieces are. For example, I know that my legs are going to be 18 inches because I know I want my overall height to be 18 inches. But what are the lengths of then my 1x3s and my 1x2 going to be? Well, my 1x3s that are serving as the small side pieces are going to be, overall height is 18 inches deep, minus the 2x2s are 1.5 inches each, so minus 3 inches total. So these cuts will end up being 15 inches. Across the front, it's going to be 30 inches minus that 3 inches coming from either side. So 27-inch cuts. Now what about the 1x2 in the middle? Well, let's see, that will be 18 inches minus the 3 inches of down below, minus the width of my two 1x3s, which a 1x3 is 2.5 inches wide, so minus another 5 inches there. So that's only going to be a 10-inch piece. Yeah, that's in scale with what I've got here. Okay, so I know what lengths I need to cut. I need to cut, Pippin, come here. Pippin is allowed on the desk because he's a baby. Sweet boy, you want some pets? Baby. Come here. No one ever gives Pippin any attention or pets. Man, put me down. I want to walk all over stuff, but not get pets. Here's my butthole. Baby, I don't want to look at your butthole. Hi, handsome. Yeah, you're my guy. If I ignore you, will you get in my lap? So handsome. Yeah. Yeah. This is part of the process, by the way. Hi. Are you confused because I'm sitting in Mom's chair? Yeah, Mom sits in Mom's chair, and Mom sits in Mom's chair. That's how it works. cut. So all the lengths I got were 8 foot. So let me do a little bit of math and make sure I'm not wasting too much. Oh, I usually use my phone to do these calculations, and now I'm recording on my phone. All right, I did the math, and I've got enough wood for everything, but it's gonna be a little tricky figuring out whether those base supports are gonna be all 1x2s, or 1 1x3 and 2 1x2s. And the reason for that is, if I cut 3 of my 27 inches out of one board, that's 81 inches, which leaves 15 inches remaining. So I've got 15 inches to cut. So it'll fit perfectly. Not necessarily, because however thick the blade itself is lost on the board every cut. So when I say I have an 8 foot long board, it's 8 foot minus however many cuts I make. Now, sometimes when you grab an 8 foot board, it'll have an extra like half an inch on there or something like that, so that you can get that cut, but we're just gonna see. I like to be efficient with my boards, even though in this case they're, you know, just some premium pine. They're not like a super expensive hardwood. It's just a good practice to be in, so that later when you're doing projects with more expensive hardwoods, you're getting, you know, every last board foot out of them that you can and applied to your project. Mary, what a guy you are. All right, so that's my cut list, and I'm pretty much ready to do this project. The only real challenge after that is going to be keeping everything really perfectly square so that my plywood fits in really well, and then figuring out how to do that taper on the leg. I'm gonna end up having to make a little tapering jig for my table saw, and I'll be like, call this the table saw blade, and here's the board. I'm basically gonna be running it through like this, so it takes off a little bit of an angle. So I need to make a nice jig that holds this board at just the right angle and just the right height. It'll be a lot of fun figuring that out. But I'll figure that out once I have my boards cut and I can just draw on them and like figure out the right proportions and all that. But that'll be great. So I'll probably work on this weekend. Unless I get sidetracked by a different project. But this one, there's a little baby girl who deserves lots of toys and a place to put them in. So we'll see what we can do. All right. Thanks for sticking with me and putting up with my like boxes. I will eventually be making myself a prettier desk, as opposed to this one that I got from Target like 8 years ago, and it's very messy and just doesn't suit how I want to use it now. I even have some beautiful cherry boards. I just need to get them planed and jointed and planed and connected and get the base that I need. And then once I get my desk together, then I can unpack more of my boxes. We just moved in October, so you know what? I think I get a full year before you get to yell at me about boxes. All right, thanks for hanging out with me. I'll see you guys soon. Pippin, are you my baby boy? Yeah, you're my baby boy. You're a good boy. I love you. I love Pippin. Mary, same question. Are you my baby boy? Are you my baby boy? Mary? Mary. Mary. Mary, same question. Are you my baby boy? Where are you going? Oh, you think it's dinner time. Guess I better feed you.